and welcome back to the Opera Wire podcast. This is a very special episode just for our patron subscribers. I'm David Salazar, and here with my co-host and Opera Wire's co-founder, Francisco Salazar. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, very well. Ready to tell a really interesting and very weird story that was just reported a week ago on the New York Magazine.
Yeah, so for this special episode, we're just going to tackle a really hot topic and just give our thoughts and our impressions on what's just happened and obviously the implications for the company that it involves. Fran, why don't you take it away? Give us some context about what we're talking about.
A few days ago, the New York Magazine released an expose about this very interesting and eccentric person called Matthew Christopher Pietrus. And it was reported that this was a fraudulent millionaire. So the story goes that it was revealed that this man apparently attempted to donate $15 million to the Metropolitan Opera. So he was kind of like this art lover type thing. He also donated money to the Frick collection. I'll read a little bit about the excerpts, but basically, according to a report on March 31st, Met Opera general manager Peter Gelb announced a major gift of $15 million by Pietrus. However, when the company attempted to make a $10 million transfer on May 28th, 2025, from an LLC connected to a Greg Soros property, the bank realized that something was wrong and flagged it as fraudulent. The magazine stated it was flagged as fraudulent and didn't go through. That night back in New York, Pietrus attended the American Ballet Theater's Spring Gala at Cipriani's, where he wore a cold expression for photographers on a step and repeat. He looked pale and jet lagged. Meanwhile, Met employees waited to hear from him. Surely the whole thing was just a mistake. And 2 days later, they found this guy dead in his apartment.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, go ahead.
So basically, he started out as just kind of like this guy who donated a couple of $1,000s. Like in 2018 and 19, he donated about 5,500 to $6,499. He was listed in the Met's annual report, and he also donated the following year. He donated about 50,000 to $100,000. And then in 2022 and 23, he attended the opening night, and he was also part of the young people's benefactors or something like that. Yes, and he was one of the benefactors in for the gala. He invited like 20 or 30 of his friends. So he had started donating, but really what was interesting about this character was he was working for Greg Soros. He was actually an employee. He was stealing money from his own employers, but he was making himself out to be this very rich and
Socialite, yeah.
socialite impresario. And he was discovered by his boyfriend that he had at the time that he met at one of this opening, because he never took his boyfriend to his apartment until one day he did. And his boyfriend went, and what he saw was a bunch of designer clothes, a bunch of things thrown all over a very small apartment. And that's when the boyfriend realized there was something wrong. But during COVID in 2020, he invited his boyfriend to stay over at Greg Soros's house where he was staying, and he made himself out to be, a friend or whatever. And Greg Soros revealed that he was just an assistant to him. So this very story was just very crazy, very interesting. But what was more interesting was this $15 million gift that Peter Gelb, the general manager of the Metropolitan Opera,
And the board. And the
and the
board.
board were expecting. When they realized they no longer had this money, they had to call for an emergency meeting. And what they realized is they were $15 million short. And so they authorized Peter Gelb to go into the endowment once again.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the big takeaway here because $15 million is obviously a very significant amount of money. It's not something that